Hi, everybody in 142A. It's been a while since you've seen me, and so now I am back on screen. Some of you have been traveling a bit of a journey with me this semester, so I just wanted to catch you up to what's happening with me in terms of I'm currently sitting in Toronto under special permission. My mother has been in hospital since December 8th with a broken shoulder and then into rehab since she lives independently. However, she was to be released this week, and I was coming to facilitate some of that transition. Sadly, when I arrived at the hospital on Friday to pick her up, she didn't know who I was, and so we have now had to rejig our transition plans. Bit of a challenge for all of us, but we're making it work. I have one sibling who lives in Texas, and I live in BC, and my mother lives in the center of the universe of Toronto. So that's the way our lives are. And so I'm here trying to figure out how I can make this work best for her and make sure that her well-being and care is in place. But I am still here. I'm just not there. I am here in Toronto, but here in your class as well. And so I'll be finishing up the conversations and the assignment work for 142A as we go on. We're into the second to last conversation for 142A. We're looking at social emotional growth and development. As always in this course, there is a ton of reading to go through and skim through. And I know it's been a reading heavy class, and so I have tried to back off on everything else that we could be doing in the class. And I would definitely like to move forward in seeing this course revised, so that's my plan for next year. So looking at this one, we're moving into the social emotional piece. I want to acknowledge that within these courses, in the diploma course, there's an in-depth course in autism, and we have another in-depth course in FASD. As I said at the beginning of this course, this is a buffet course, just an idea to get an awareness of some of the pieces and how they fit in within the school system and working with the students and the children. So we're going to do a bit of a review on those kinds of ideas. We're going to focus a little bit more on behavior challenges because it's a really interesting topic, and we just sort of touch the breadth of it because there's so much to cover in it. I did put in a discussion question for those that have the time. In 2018, there was a paper that included the question, should alternative non-diagnosis or reporting-based model of funding students with special needs be considered? Right now, you need a diagnosis to get funded. And so are there other ways that we could put funding supports in place that don't require diagnosis? There has been changes to the funding formulas and formula systems, but we are moving into another formula change in the coming year. So it's important to look at, we say as EAs working in the classroom and teachers working in the classroom, that we know that there are students that need assistance and help, but they go on wait lists for diagnosis, which means they're on a wait list for supports and services. The reality is they're in the class and we're working with them, and so we have the responsibility to ensure that every child's need is being met the best way we can within the system. And I know that many of you that are working as EAs, or those of you who have been working in your practicums as EAs, have been figuring out that you just can't say, no, I'm not paid to be with that child. Every child needs help of some kind, but how we're attached to that funding and how we make sure that that piece rolls out within our students is really challenging within the classrooms, within the schools, within the districts. So I thought maybe if we had time, a bit of a conversation around, should we be looking at alternative or non-diagnosed, like a reporting-based portfolios? My gosh, you were all skilled at doing portfolios of observations on children. Could we look at those models and sort of look at a better way of funding students for special needs within the classroom setting? I have an opportunity to take a look at an ADHD, how to explain ADHD. The Red Boots video for autism, autism and my world, and autism and I, my world in your world. So it gives you an opportunity to see how things are different. And a bit of a real life piece on living with fetal alcohol syndrome. Again, we're not diagnosing here, we're just listening to the stories of. Finally, the behavior support plan, positive behavior support plan is done. We've been doing all the background, all the gathering of the research. Again, as an EA, never your job to do this alone, or never your job to generate this. This is a theory part, so it's learning about what the process is involved, so that you know when we say, well, we need a behavior plan for a student, you know the process that's involved for it, which sadly includes waitlisting, diagnosing. And so, but we also know that copious observation pieces that show us patterns, frequency, duration, ABCs that give us enough data for us to say, here's the picture, and here's what we can do with the picture, and let's put a plan together. So now we're going to take all the notes that you've been doing from part 1 and part 2, plug it into the template. If there are parts of the template that you're struggling with or that just don't make sense to you, that's fine. Just leave a note or say something that it just doesn't make sense to me here, this doesn't apply, or I'm not sure what to put here. And whenever I do the review, I'll add some questions or comments or supports for you as you go through that part of it. I've set it as March 29th. March 29th is simply a date for us to work with. It's all the work has to be in my hands by April 10th, by midnight. I guess I should include that in there, but April 10th, so that that's the end of active classes at Northern Lights College. If April 10th is not a reality for you, then we need to have a conversation about a completion contract, just so that we can balance your workload and my workload in order to get the course completed in a reasonable time frame. I think that's it. So we have so for the next 2 weeks, we're going to look at the social emotional challenges that abilities that some children bring to the school with us, and sort of just get a feel for some of those pieces. And our conversation will be around funding, because it reflects the idea of challenging behaviors, and it reflects the idea of undiagnosed children. So let's take a look at that for the next few weeks. I think that's it. I'll get on with the marking today and stay on top of it as best I can. Thanks so much for engaging in the EA Blogger. I can see where the conversation issues get lost within that piece of it, so it might be a different way to set it up in the future. But I like the information that came out from around and supporting peers, because that's our first and go-to network, is supporting each other the best we can.